Tonight we're gonna do an unboxing. It's fairly straightforward. It's a Predator model resin kit by Narin Studio. It's very, very high quality. I hope. I haven't opened the box yet, but I've ordered this like months ago. Narin decided to do like a beginner's line for people who just started in the resin model kit business, and for people to learn how to paint, learn how to build. Just because it was a Narin kit, I wanted to buy it. I still consider myself a beginner, even though I've done more complicated statues. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna unbox it, and then later, when we've unboxed it, reviewed it, basically, we're gonna do a pinning and prepping tutorial. I was watching a fellow streamer who had a bunch of questions in her chat about how to pin models and how to drill resin. And I was like, oh, I did that like a couple of streams ago, right? So maybe go into the VODs and watch that back. But then she suggested that like that stuff should be on YouTube, right? And so my idea was to do an unboxing of the statue, and then when we've done that, we're gonna pin and prep the model so that it can receive paint, and I will be able to upload that to YouTube just for the people who want to learn how to pin and prep their models. You know, when you're a beginner, these things can be imitating. You can, if you do it the wrong way, you can crack your resin, damage the statue. And if you're a beginner, it's really hard to correct that mistake because you have to go in with like, epoxy resin or clay and then fix the statue, which can be really troublesome. I've done that. I've damaged statues that way. I still make mistakes when drilling resin. Kind of depends on what type of resin it is. It depends on your drill, depends on your technique. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna unbox it, review the statue, see what it's all about, and then we're gonna get into the tutorial bit of the stream. So I'm really looking forward to this statue. It's very affordable. I think it was $99 plus shipping. Really intended for people who've looked at Predator resin models, but never got a chance to get into it, either because of the price, intimidation factor. Predator models are famous for being difficult to paint, but just because they have so many bits and pieces, that, the dreadlocks can be intimidating. The trophies can be intimidating. The Predator models filled with detail, and especially the skin can be intimidating to paint. The armor. So Narin decided, let's sculpt a statue for beginners and do a beginner series. Hopefully he's gonna continue that line, and get more people interested in the hobby, basically. And if you can paint a Predator, you can basically paint everything. Once you took that step into resin painting, I think you should be ready for more stuff, like doing Marvel statues, 3D prints, stuff like that. So Narin always packs his stuff really well. As you can see, the box has been laced with what's it called? Styrene to keep it from bumping against the outside. Basically, all the pieces are individually packed in bubble wrap, which is always nice. I mean, there's so many different ways to pack statues. I personally have always had good results with newspapers, but there are other ways. It's just a personal preference for the person who's sending the package, I guess. So far I haven't had any issues or breakages, so we'll see how this goes. Even if you have like a breakage, resin kits are fairly easy to repair, especially if it's a clean break. So far so good. I'm not seeing any weird and difficult parts. This is the base, from what I can tell, and we're gonna just get everything out of the box and then review all the pieces individually. Narin sculpts always come with an art print or a photograph of the statue itself. It's signed by the artist himself, in this case Narin. I think he always signs with Narin Sculpt or Narin Sculptor. Let's see if it's empty. Looks that way. And this is actually just more like proof that you've got a real Narin statue. And he also signs the base. You can see his signature through the bubble wrap. This it's always very well packed. It's like clean. It's not messy. I always try to keep the bubble wrap intact for whenever I need to send the package myself. I always try to unpack it as clean as possible and not just rip everything off. It's also just, you take your time, you won't damage the statue. It's obviously a little bit different when you buy a completely painted statue from like a sideshow or an XM Studios or something like that. These are resin kits. These are most of the time produced on a small scale by, you know, hobbyists and people who do small projects. Do not have like a big company behind them. Here we are with the base. Looks amazing. It's got this alien-like tail structure, bone structure. Looks amazing. A Narin sculpt. Now, I personally have no attachment to the signature. I'm happy it's there, but if I'm painting and I paint over it, I'm not gonna be bothered by that. But yeah, as you can see, it's like a stone surface with like bone type structure. Almost looks like Xenomorph tail. I don't know if that that was the intention, but here it looks like just a spine or something like that, but it looks really cool. And let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So here are the feet and the lower leg. As you can see, it's really smooth, really clean. This statue is known as Bigfoot because he seems to have big feet. I can see why. If you look at how detailed that skin, it looks really nice. Let's do the other leg. I think it's a straightforward museum style pose, as they call it in the community. He's just standing. There's no action pose or something like that. But yeah, his foot is basically the same. I think it's wise to start with the body. Got two big pieces. It's packed very well, so that's always a good sign. It means he values quality over quantity, basically. Narin has, sometimes he releases like limited edition statues, and sometimes statues are just being sold on like request basis, basically. Lately he's been just making statues and producing them on order. This makes the availability a little bit better. I don't like limited edition stuff because, you know, if the statue comes out and you're in a tight spot that month, or your reaction time is not as fast as other people's, you miss out. I know that's part of a limited edition thing, but I don't really like it. I just want to have the time to think about something. I just want to, you know, elaborate. You know, do I have enough money? I have to talk to my wife about it. Just a little bit more time to think about a purchase as my preference, basically. And I know that's part of the collector business, I guess. That sometimes you're in a tight spot. You don't have the money available immediately. Sometimes you have to wait a few weeks, or, you know, your washing machine broke or whatever. Wow. Wow, that looks smooth. That looks amazing. That face is beautifully sculpted. And that's also like one of the reasons why a lot of people are intimidated by painting predators, and the skin detail, it's insane. Like all these little details are sculpted, and it's almost like crocodile or lizard skin, and then slowly, you know, going into what would seem like regular skin, but all that muscle is ripped. And then his face. Oh yeah, that's why a lot of people are intimidated by Narin Predator statues. They're so full of detail, so lifelike. I often talk to fellow painters who are just, they have the most amazing paint jobs for statues, and then I ask them like, hey, when are you gonna like, do a Predator statue? And they're like, nah, there's no way that I'm gonna do a Narin Predator. It's just way too intimidating. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like you're doing Venom statues and Marvel statues, the most crazy statues, and then be intimidated by a Narin Predator. But that is kind of the thing. Like, I'm looking forward to end of the year. Narin was working on a Xenomorph warrior. Also 1/6 scale, I believe. A Xenomorph warrior, which I've been dying to get because there's so little really good Xenomorph statues. I'm very interested in painting it myself. There have been some really cool Alien Queen, Xenomorph Queen statues by, I think by Sideshow. Yeah, I think by Sideshow. Did some amazing Xenomorph statues, but they're so expensive. And I just like to do the painting myself and learn from that. And so Narin making a Xenomorph warrior is really exciting. I finally get to paint a Xenomorph warrior for my own collection. From unpacking this resin kit, you can start to see why you need to pin and drill the model, because it comes in all of these pieces, and when you want to display it, it needs to stand firm and not fall down when you bump the table or something like that. And that's why you pin and prep the model. Now normally the sculpts are very well balanced. Not always. They sometimes fall down, especially with me. That looks amazing. I love how he sculpts all the detail and still makes it look like it's fabric. Or he is so talented, and his talent has been recognized by all the big companies like Sideshow and XM Studios, who have all commissioned him to sculpt statues for them, which they released as completely painted statues. So he is very well known within the collector community, as he should be, because he's an amazing, talented sculptor. So this is one of the primary reasons why you have to pin your model because this arm would otherwise just fall off. So that's why you pin the arm. And if you really wanna go overboard, you magnetize both sides, and then the arm clicks in. You notice that he doesn't have a hand, but I think he has a weapon, which is this thing, I think. But yeah, you can see why this is a beginner kit. It's fairly straightforward, no elaborate poses and stuff like that. Just a museum style pose, simple sculpt, at least for a Narin piece. This is a simple, straightforward piece, which I love that he chose to do that, because that will give, you know, beginners the opportunity to learn. There we go. Wow. You could definitely see that he's still a young warrior. Just straightforward arm, but very detailed. This goes here, and this is also why he needs to be pinned, otherwise it's gonna fall out. I mean, I really like the model so far. It's a little bit smaller than 1/6 scale, I would say. I don't know. It looks like a little bit smaller, or he's just a very slim predator, a young predator, I would say. Most other predators are a little bit bulkier, a little bit more mass to them. But I really like it, man. It's a really good quality. Now the final weapon, which is a sword, I believe, or a machete type weapon. Wow, jeez, look at that. That's just insane sculpting. That is beautiful. Wearing a glove. And the weapon has all this detail in them. Look at that. How beautiful. So this goes here. And so this arm needs 2 pins, basically. One for the shoulder and one for the hand. So that's gonna be interesting to do for tonight. It's kind of like the reason why we did the stream tonight, is to show off how to prep a model like this, because we want it to be ready for paint, basically. Also, you know, pinning and prepping a model and then priming it. And even though if you're not gonna paint it right away, you can still display it. And by displaying it, it will hopefully trigger you at some point to pick it up and start painting it. I mean, there's a lot of people who buy resin kits and then they leave it in the box and it ends up somewhere on an attic and people never get to painting the models, which is such a shame because there's so many talented people out there who would, do such a beautiful job at painting a statue like this, and then they end up in a box somewhere. And that's why I've kind of decided, like, whenever I receive new models, I'll just immediately unbox it and prep the model, start pinning the model, priming it, and then even, if I'm not gonna paint it right away, I'm just gonna display it in my workshop, and then at some point I'm gonna look at it almost every day, and then at some point if I get triggered or motivated, I can pick it up and start painting it, even if it's just start somewhere, right? And I don't want these pieces to be sitting in a box somewhere. Now what's important to note is that there is a noticeable seam line here, which if you paint the model will still be visible. Will be less less visible, but it will still be visible. You can fix that by pinning and gluing the arm, and then going over with some clay or epoxy resin or something to fill that up. You can use like multi-putty or something like that. If you would be painting this for like a client or something like that, it'll be a little bit more difficult because then you have to take shipping into consideration. So then you would decide, am I going to glue it and then fill it up and then ship it like that? For this model, that wouldn't be such a big problem. But for other models, that have a lot more complicated pose, have like an action scene going on where the arms are bent or carry a weapon or something like that, that becomes a little bit more of an issue. But this is for my own collection. I plan to display this myself, so for me that's not like a really big problem. I'll just drill a hole, put a pin in there, then glue it, then fill it up, and then start painting. But yeah, if you were doing this for a client, you'll have to take into consideration shipping. And if you ship it like this, the hand is the vulnerable part, because you have to make sure that this doesn't break during shipping. So it's something to consider. If you're painting this yourself, just glue it together. Like, there's no real reason why you shouldn't be gluing that. That's if you want to hide the seam line. If you're okay with the seam line, then you can also like magnetize it or leave it pinned and leave it like that. But yeah, that's all things to consider. For the hand, also, this is very fragile during shipping. So it's something to consider. Am I gonna glue this like this? Am I gonna leave it separate and put a pin in there or a magnet in there? All these things need to be considered. Now, if you were gonna ship this painted to somebody, you could easily glue the legs, the lower body, the upper body all together. It would really just fit into a box like this, and it'd be easily protected. That's how I would do it, but some people prefer their pieces to be all separate pieces. I just want everything, together. So I'm gonna go over the statue one more time. As you can see, the head is beautifully sculpted. The teeth are really, really detailed. It's gonna be a hell to paint this beautifully, like make it really, you know, really pop out. Then the trophy necklace, the traditional neck garment, I would say, the neck protection, whatever the predators wear on their neck. Of course, a bone necklace is, you know, mandatory for a predator, I would almost say. Then the dreadlocks are beautifully sculpted, like there are no air bubbles, nothing. It's almost pristine condition, almost. They always require some work. You always have to go over and say, okay, there's an issue, or like a really small bubble or something like that. That happens. I mean, these are essentially garage kits, even though the sculptor is like famous for doing them, and he's the best predator sculptor on the planet. They always have like little areas that need touching up. For example, the filling of the arm, like I mentioned before. But yeah, the back is full of detail. Like it's really, really nice. I mean, you have to really respect the guy that takes the time to individually sculpt all of these dreadlocks, and then all of this skin. It's really, really amazing. And we have the lower body. Of course, he's got fabric, and then the armor. It's really nice. It's just, I like the simplicity of it. It's not overboard, but still decorative, which is obviously important because, you know, Predator is always wearing like things that he hunts, things that he finds. You know, he's got pouches and stuff like that, or he's got technology or a hunting tool or whatever. So the attention to detail is really, really nice. He's wearing a belt, which I've never seen before, so that's nice. But yeah, I like the simplicity, and yet it's very predatory. It's very, you know, representative of a hunter or a predator that, you know, wears the things that he collected. I mean, the sculpt in the cloth is very nice. And then the feet, obviously no shoe. Predators do not wear shoes. I have some predators behind me that have like sandals, basically. But for example, the Predator in the first and the second movie did not have anything on their feet. They were just barefooted. Again, beautifully sculpted. That crocodile or that lizard skin. Super, super detailed. It's gonna be very interesting to use like washes and stuff like that, and to bring that to life even more. Again, I like the simplicity of it, and for a beginner, this should be very well suited to just go to town and just try different things on, you know, and not have to worry about an action pose or display ability. Just, you know, go ahead and try things. Excuse me. But yeah, simple armor, nothing elaborate. And then the base. It's just, again, simple yet very effective. Has this bone structure here. Then this stone would be interesting to paint. It looks like I would like to do a red rock kind of look for this. Very, very nice. So I'm gonna put him down for a sec. There we go.